Hey, Wemberg World Entertainment, and something funny has actually happened. Yeah, Netflix CEO has accidentally confirmed the one thing we all knew, that James Gunn's Superman underperformed. Yep, he confirmed that it did not actually make money on the big screen. And the funny thing is that this could actually affect, apparently, the actual deal with Warner Brothers. How exactly? I think it's based on the fact that putting so much money into a movie that doesn't work and stuff like that. I don't really know. They don't go into that. But this comes on the heels of them talking with basically the government. And he was asked directly about what's happening with the 45-day window if you get Warner Brothers. Are you going to commit to the 45 days? And in his answer, he follows it up by talking about, well, sometimes they shift windows if something is underperforming, and they extend windows if something is overperforming. And the examples he gives for underperforming was Superman. So let's have a look at this, because this is funny when you think of all the cope and all the jumping through hoops they've all been doing to try and convince everyone. Oh, no. James Gunn's Superman absolutely made money at the box office, when we all know it absolutely 100% did not. So it's saying, during a Senate Judicial Committee hearing on Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery's deal, Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos dropped a bombshell regarding Superman, the James Gunn directed reboot of the DC iconic hero. Sarandos confirms the film underperformed while addressing the industry standard 45-day theatrical release prior to hitting streaming. So there is a video that you can see it, but the video's over an hour. It's 1 hour, 16 minutes and 17 seconds. And that's when he says this part, so God knows how long the actual video is. But the moment came as Senator Cory Booker pressed Sarandos on whether Netflix would abide by a full, exclusive 45 theatrical window for upcoming films, a practice that has become the de facto standard before a movie transitions to streaming or video on demand. So this guy Booker, who's a senator, his question was, I want to ask a direct question. Will this be a fully exclusive 45-day theatrical window? And Sarandos responded, fully exclusive to theaters? Yes. So this is where they are trying to confirm that, even though he originally said, I don't see why movies stay on the big screen for that long, 17 days will do them, which is ridiculous. He's now trying to say, whether he sticks to it or not, he's trying to say that Netflix would be committed to the 45-day window. But when asked if this window is strictly enforced, Sarandos gave a telling response and name-dropped James Gunn's Superman. So this is what he said to that. It is the industry standard for self-enforcement. However, routinely movies that underperform, the window moves a little bit, and Superman was a little shorter window, and Sinners a little longer window, but they still could refer to it as a 45-day window. So Sarandos' candid admission confirms what many in the industry already suspected, and that, of course, everyone has said. Gunn's Superman failed to live up to expectations. So he confirmed that the window was shortened for Superman, which we know, and they pulled it early. I think it only did 37 days on the big screen before they pulled it, to immediately put it onto video on demand and stuff, which James Gunn, he originally said, it's not going to come out anytime soon on video on demand. It's doing its full run in the cinema, and once at least there, it's going to be a while before it's on streaming. And boom, they pulled it early from the cinemas. It was immediately on streaming services. They immediately dropped the prices for it on streaming, you name it. So this obviously prompted Warner Brothers to release Superman early and push it to video on demand just 35 days after its theatrical release. So there you go, it was only in the cinema for 35 days. The fact that Sandros felt compelled to distinguish Superman as an underperformer in contrast to another project, Sinners, suggests the movie may have missed financial targets by a wide margin. While he tried to frame it as a common industry practice, his admission is the first public acknowledgement from a top executive that Superman failed to justify a full theatrical run. The early video-on-demand release raised eyebrows, especially given the reported $350+ million budget and the fact that it was meant to be the cornerstone of Gunn's new DC Universe reboot, which has now been downgraded to Gunn's Superman family saga amid the sale of Warner Brothers. And that is one of the things everyone is pointing out, is like, oh, everything he's doing is just Superman focused. So the fact, now people will try and spin it and say, well, he was just using that as an example. No, because Superman was pulled early from cinemas, while Sinners was making money, and they extended Sinners' run at the cinemas. So he wasn't just putting out an example, he was putting out an example with actual things that showed you what was working and what wasn't working. So he has flat out confirmed, like, yes, Superman underperformed, which is also interesting because it means that Warner Brothers must have had to show Netflix what the movie did. So it's not like they could hide it and say, oh no, it was a massive success for us. They clearly had to show Netflix, if they want this deal to go through, what the numbers actually were. And yes, that budget of the 150 million plus, yeah, it's not 150 million because we saw the tax return. It's 367 million. That is what the number was. And everyone's trying to say, oh no, that's just a mistake. Well, that's a federal crime if that was a mistake to put that number on there and just go, oh, somebody just did that. Oopsie poopsie. That's a federal crime. And as we all know, we will probably end up at some stage, probably in the next year or so, getting the actual numbers. They've also, by the way, Warner Brothers themselves has now actually increased what they spent on marketing, which wasn't the 125 like they said. They've actually risen it now and said, actually it was more in around 200 million, which is something we've also been saying, that they spent well over 200 million on this. Because don't forget, they said, we're going to do for that what we did with Barbie. And they spent about 250 million on the marketing for Barbie. So if they were doing the same for Superman, then that number goes way up. So with their new marketing number, and let's still stick with their 225 that they tried to say, that means the movie still had to make well then over $700 million. And yeah, it didn't even come close. It barely made it over 600. So it's a bomb. It tanked. No video on demand saved it. And now Netflix has inadvertently, at a Senate hearing, has let that slip. So, what do you guys think? And do you think this could affect the deal and sale of Warner Brothers to Netflix? I don't quite understand how that works, unless it's the case of, how dare you say what failed for us? No, but that is being discussed apparently around. You might see headlines about that in place. But what do you think about the guy actually confirming that, yes, Superman underperformed? Let us know. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like and share and subscribe and hit the hype button and all that good stuff. Cheers, and I shall catch you in the next one.